I make a motion we approve the minutes from the September 8th regular meeting as presented.
Motion by Flores, second by Castillo to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries 4-0. Next item is a public hearing. The City of Floresville will hold a public hearing on proposed tax rate. The way we'll do this, if you could just come up to the podium, have your comments regarding on the tax rate. Time is 7:04, looks like. The public hearing is open. The two people who have signed up is Ms. Kiki. Would you like to say something, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Before you do that, I'm going to ask our finance director to state the tax rate.
Okay.
Give us all the information regarding the tax rate.
The current tax rate is 0.3227, which is the same as last year. Our maintenance and operation is 0.1627. Our principal and interest is 0.1600, which equals that total tax rate of 0.3227. Mayor, and if I can, I would also like to let you know that I have spoken with the comptroller's office, Connie Rose, and I did go ahead and get with her this morning in reference to our information that was on the public hearing. I sent her an email too this afternoon, and I'd just like to go ahead and let y'all know so it's on the record. I put thank you for your call this morning on September 14, 2011. I have reviewed the concerns of the 2011 Truth in Taxation Notice as we discussed. Per step 3, page 5, our council has not proposed a tax increase in any manner. No action or motion has been taken to increase taxes in any way. Per step 5, the notice for increasing rates is not required based on our sustained rate. Step 9, page 7, adopt rates at a public meeting will not take place since there has not been intent to change those rates. Our public notice on tax increase is merely a worksheet that reflects information furnished from the appraisal district based on our rates that are currently in effect. The notice that appeared in the paper Wednesday, August 14, 2011 was a statement of existing rates based on appraisal district's effective tax rate on our debt service. In closing, we have published this notice for the need to inform the public and reiterate our maintaining of the current 0.3227 tax rate. I have also spoken with Lou in regards to this, and we furthered this along to Connie Rose.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just interested to see about the tax rate, if there was going to be any changes. Usually, the appraisal office does their thing most of the time. So then there's
Okay.
Probably just have to turn it off or just, let's try it now.
And so I was just concerned, that if there was going to be any, I can see and understand the input that she has just given us. But in many instances, I've noticed that when it comes to the tax appraisal office, they do their share. I guess they want their money. I don't know. But I was just wondering, will it go to that extent?
The appraisal district is out of our control. That does appraisals for all the entities throughout the county.
Yes, I know that.
I will say that this city council has rejected the appraisal budget the last couple of years, but our tax rate has remained the same. However, your appraisal in your house may go up.
In other words, it won't be the same.
I'm sorry?
In other words, it won't be the same.
Well,
you said it could be, because you said the house itself could go up.
It could be, yes, ma'am.
Well, like I said, since we've been through a lot of these changes and all of this hearing, possibly the income on that will be what, for the park services or whatever you all plan, or what would it be used on, or do you all have any idea? Or just to make another trip someplace?
The ad valorem taxes that goes into our general fund. It covers everything. It covers our streets. It goes into our general fund because it covers everything for the city.
Well, in other words, you've got the go word on it again. not much we can do, except replace some of the old ones on top. We thank you.
Ms. Kennedy, Sarah?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council.
Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak. I appreciate that, and I'm encouraged that you are willing to listen and to receive the public input on this very important issue. I am not a mathematician, I am not an accountant, and I'm here today simply as a citizen of Floresville, representing myself and my family. I was concerned about this notice in the newspaper, and a friend of mine went through and crunched all the numbers and sat down with me, and he's actually a resident of Post who sat down with me, and he crunched the numbers, and we had a lot of questions about it. So I then went to another friend and said, please help me understand, please explain this to me. And it just didn't seem to add up. And I'm concerned. I don't have the mathematical words and terms or experiences to express exactly what I want to say.
Judge, hold on one second, we can't.
It's not working. There you go.
Y'all know public speaking is one of the worst things in the world. It is the most difficult thing. I mean, some people would rather have a root canal than speak out in public. And this is really difficult for me. And I'm one that speaks anyway. I have to. And I'm concerned that more people are not here tonight. I came from church, it's Wednesday night, and a lot of people are at church. They have responsibilities there. We have classes and all of those things. And I know that more people wanted to be here. So I would like to say, please don't look at this small crowd as an example of people not caring or not wanting to be here. It's just that there's other things that you know, are very important as well. And I've taken time away from that and away from my family this evening to come and ask you guys to please be diligent, please be prudent, and please, please seek out wise counsel. Seek out people who do understand these and who can explain it in simple terms, who can explain it, so that each and every one of you know exactly what it is that you're voting on. And you don't take just anybody's word for it. Don't take anybody's word for it. Know that we elected each one of you individually, not collectively. And that each one of you are responsible individually for every decision you make. And it just concerns me that I haven't seen in this council yet a real sense of people being willing to just do the right thing, even if you have to stand alone. I want to encourage you to just do the right thing, even if that means standing alone. And I've been made aware of some claims and some difficult things with the comptrollers coming in and all of those. There's just a lot going on right now. And I just want to encourage each and every one of y'all, as we open the meeting tonight with prayer, I really appreciate that. And we really do need to seek God's guidance, and we need to ask Him to give us wisdom. And if we need to go to a banker or we need to go to an investment officer, we need to seek that. Every day in my job, I call my mentors. I have judges every day. I'm cracking open those law books every day. I learned something new. And I just want to challenge y'all to also really seek out and really be sure and confident in what it is that you're voting for, and that you are absolutely keeping the people's best interest at heart.
Just as a reminder, the tax rate that's being proposed is the same tax rate that has been in existence for the past 12 years. I know the ad in the paper maybe has been confusing, but the tax rate that we've talked about during our budget process is the same 3227 that we've had in effect for, I think, 11 or 12 years. We are not raising taxes at all. Would anybody else like to say anything regarding the proposed tax rate?
Well, on the fails of Judge Kennedy, let me simplify the tax code and the law. It's not an issue of this is the same tax rate as last year, in that the city of Floresville has seen an appraised value increase across the board. The same tax rate generates more tax money for the city. What the tax code says, and what this notice is supposed to say, is what is the effective rate? What is a fair rate? Let's take the operational expenses, and I'm simplifying a formula. The operational expenses of the city, add 8% to it, divide it by the amount of taxable property, and that's a fair tax rate. If we add in the debt service of the city to that, here's the maximum tax rate, or a rollback rate. So those are two numbers that you see in this notice. Effective tax rate, and then from the appraisal district, rollback tax rate. What the tax law says, for communities that are in a low tax rate, less than 50 cents per $100, is if your proposed tax rate is above the effective rate, which in this case it is. In both cases, 0.3227 is higher than 0.16, and 0.3227 is higher than 0.318. You as a taxing entity must publish notice of the hearing, spell out what the percentage increase is. This notice says that it's 10.418% above the effective tax rate. If the effective tax rate in this notice, as stated, is 0.16, and the proposed tax rate is 0.3227, that's a 210% increase. I haven't done the math on 0.318 to 0.3227. But you must publish a notice with these facts. 7 days after you publish that notice, you have a public hearing. 5 days after that, you have a second public hearing. At that second public hearing, before the close of the meeting, you are to set a date for adoption of that proposed tax rate. That meeting must occur within 3 to 7 days after the end of those public hearings. That's what the tax law says. That's from reading the tax code and from reading the information sheets from the comptroller's office on their website. Information taxpayers would like to know. There is no issue of what was your rate last year. It's what is your proposed rate compared to the effective rate, or what the fair tax rate is. I contend that this notice, reflecting a 210% increase, is misinformation when we compare that to the information that is published by Edward A. Bridge, Chief Appraiser for the Wilson County Appraisal District. And those are the people who publish the effective tax rate. And I can quote from this ad in the paper in the second to the last paragraph. If the governing body adopts the effective rate for this year of 16 cents per $100 of taxable value, nowhere in here does it say that that is an effective operating rate. It says effective tax rate. This was misinformation to the public. And I agree, Mr. Mayor, the issue is the tax rate is not increasing. But let's be fair about it to the public about why we're having a public hearing. And that the proposed tax rate is higher, although only a ½ cent per $100 higher than the effective tax rate. But it is higher than that effective tax rate. And these forums serve as a two-way purpose. For you, the council, and your administration to share with the community why we need a tax rate that is higher than the effective tax rate. And we do so with a budget and justifications to those things. I will not use this forum to discuss the budget. But I do know, and as Judge Kennedy has said, the finances of the city as it relates to sales tax are under review by the Office of the State Comptroller. In that the
Please get back to the topic of the tax rate.
point in going forward, and this actually does relate to the tax rate, adopting this tax rate, okay, is in support of this year's budget. Okay? In order to do this year's budget, we need to have this effective tax rate. So my comments regarding the budget are appropriate. And I would add, if we are under review by the Office of the State Comptroller, and those findings have not yet been published with us, that going forward could be dangerous. If we're off on our numbers, we may have to adjust fire. Maybe we're not, but what if we are? So, as Judge Kennedy has said, I encourage each of you city councilmen, okay, to act responsible and act as the fiduciary agents of the taxpayers and make the right decision in accordance with the law and the requirements of the tax code, the requirements of the city charter, and the requirements of the local government code. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mayor, the staff would like to respond to
Please.
the comments made by Jim Miller, who is the individual that contacted the comptroller.
Mayor and Council, good evening, everybody. Jim, I wanted to address a couple of the things in the notice and the letter. First of all, the notice that's put in the paper and the notice that everybody sees is the same notice that every taxing entity in our county uses. It is a state mandated letter. It is set up by the comptroller's office, and the information that is entered into it is what the comptroller asked us to do.
And why do we have two different sets of numbers?
Because it's, if you look,
Let her
there's,
say her piece, please.
the forms are set up by the state, and you using the 210% to say that what we're doing is incorrect is incorrect, because the 0.16 is part of the 0.327. So M&O, and yes it is, M&O and INS are how you come up with your tax rate. Your M&O rate is your effective tax rate. Your INS, your interest and sinking fund, your debt service is not, it's separated within the tax rate, and it is not included in the M&O, which is your effective tax rate. So to say that we're changing things by 210% is very incorrect.
The effective tax rate as defined by the tax law and the Office of the State Comptroller is talking about total tax rate. This tax rate publication by the appraisal's office says last year's total tax rate. And this was actually published online at the Wilson.
Now, was this the notice that we put in the paper, or is this the notice that the appraisal district put in the paper?
The notice that
Because
the
they're different.
appraisal district put in the paper,
Is for rollback taxes,
but it refers to an effective tax rate.
which is your M&O only. Yes, sir, it is. It
Which
is your M&O only.
Jim, please let her finish.
I did let her finish, and I'm asking a question. But I've read the tax code. Could you please show me the document that says why we're having this meeting?
Absolutely. First of all, as Fonda stated by Comptroller's office this morning, we didn't even have to have these meetings.
So
We
then
did
why
it
are we?
because we did it as a service to the public, so that you cannot come back and say that we did not give you a chance to come in and talk about it. The effective tax, understanding it is hard. And the reason that I have knowledge on this, I worked at the appraisal district here in Floresville under Carlos and Poppy for 5 years. I then worked for True Automation, which is the software company that they use, doing support and programming with them on creating it. So I do have knowledge, and I do have